Whispers of fear. The Galaxy Council chamber glowed with silver light. Thousands of alien delegates sat in silence, their faces filled with unease. For centuries they had ruled with order and power, but now rumors spread like fire through the stars. Whispers of something hidden on the small blue world called Earth. An elder counselor with scaled skin tapped the table. His voice echoed. Reports speak of strange signals. Movements in the human system. Unknown structures near their orbit. The words hung heavy in the chamber. No one laughed. No one dismissed it, but one senator, tall with thin wings folded behind his back, sneered. Humans are weak. They are nothing but latecomers in the galaxy. Their fleets are small. Their weapons outdated. Let us not waste time fearing shadows. His mocking tone earned nervous glances. Another delegate, furred and sharp-eyed, leaned forward. And yet fleets sent near their border do not return. 3 squadrons vanished. Not a single distress call. Something is there. Something they are hiding. His claws tapped the desk in a slow rhythm, as if measuring the silence itself. The hall grew restless. Screens flickered with intercepted fragments, unreadable codes pulsing like heartbeats. Scientists had tried to decipher them, but the signals carried no known pattern, no familiar origin. It was as if humanity had written a language beyond alien comprehension. A deep voice rumbled from the high throne. The Supreme Counselor, older than most stars, raised his hands. The galaxy is uneasy. Fear travels faster than light. If humanity has built something new, something powerful, then we must know. His eyes narrowed. And if they have not, then we must remind them of their place. Still, unease lingered, for every report told the same story. Silence from humans. They did not reply to threats, did not answer messages. Their diplomats were withdrawn. Their borders locked tighter than iron walls. It was as if Earth had disappeared behind a curtain of secrecy. Out in the void, captains of alien ships spoke in hushed voices. We see shadows near the planet. Structures the size of moons, but they give no heat, no energy signature. One commander reported. It is like they are sleeping giants. His voice broke as static swallowed the transmission. Back in the council, arguments sparked. Some demanded immediate war to crush humanity before it grew dangerous. Others warned against striking an unknown force. Fear carved cracks in the once united chamber. Finally, a decision was made. A scout fleet would be sent, small but fast, to pierce the silence, to tear away the mystery surrounding Earth. Their orders were clear: observe, record, return. Yet in their hearts they knew many scouts before had vanished. The counselor with fur whispered to his neighbor, "If they find nothing, then the galaxy will mock us for our fear." His neighbor replied coldly, "And if they find something, we may already be too late." Beyond the council walls, whispers spread across the stars. Merchants and trade routes spoke of entire convoys disappearing near human space. Smugglers claimed to have seen colossal shapes gliding silently in the dark. Children on distant colonies were told stories of iron ghosts that watched from Earth's skies. Still, Earth itself remained quiet. The planet spun in silence. Its oceans shimmered, its cities lit up. But the skies above were guarded by unseen eyes. Humanity did not speak. Humanity did not boast, they only waited. One young alien diplomat, fresh to the council, asked in a trembling voice, "Why do humans not answer? Why do they not even deny?" The elder beside him shook his head slowly, because sometimes silence is more terrifying than war. That night, when the chamber lights dimmed, the Supreme Counselor stood alone at the great window. He gazed at the galaxy's spiral arms, his reflection trembling in the glass. "Once, we thought humanity was fragile," he whispered to the stars. "But now, their silence consumes us." He closed his eyes as a chilling thought rose in his mind. What if the humans had never been weak at all? What if they had only been waiting, and somewhere far beyond, hidden among Earth's orbit, silent giants stirred, unseen but watching, waiting for the moment to awaken? Shadows on the edge, the scout fleet slipped through the void, their hulls painted black to blend with space. Engines humming low, they moved like hunters, though in their hearts they felt like prey. The commander, a tall figure with glowing eyes, stood before the main screen. "Report," he ordered, his voice steady but cold. The crew hesitated. One officer whispered, "No signals, no transmissions, Earth system is silent." The commander frowned. Silence was worse than resistance. Silence meant something was hiding, waiting. He raised a hand and the fleet pressed forward. As they neared the boundary of human space, the stars seemed to dim, as if shadows stretched across the galaxy itself. The sensors picked up structures, massive, unnatural, drifting near the edge of the solar system. Their outlines too vast to measure. What are those? An officer gasped, his hands trembling on the console. The scans returned no heat, no energy, no life. They floated like frozen mountains, silent and cold. Suddenly, a voice cut through the static. A single human transmission, clear, steady, spoken in a tongue every species understood. Turn back, the crew froze, hearts pounding. The commander's eyes narrowed. Continue, he said, his pride stronger than his fear. But inside his chest, something heavy began to stir. One of the smaller ships strayed too close to a drifting structure. Its scanners lit up red. Alarms screamed, then, in the blink of an eye, the ship was gone. No explosion, no debris, only silence. Panic spread through the fleet. What happened? What took it? Voices shouted. The commander gritted his teeth. Hold formation. But even his voice shook. Another voice came through the comms, this time colder, quieter. This is your only warning. The commander clenched his fists. Rage fought with fear inside him. He barked. Prepare weapons. The fleet armed their cannons, energy charges glowing in the dark. But before they could fire, the drifting structures shifted. They were not structures, they were ships. Colossal warships of impossible scale. Their hulls smooth and black, their outlines blotting out the stars. The alien fleet stared in silence. Some whispered prayers, others choked on fear. Each human warship was the size of a small moon, their weapons hidden, their engines quiet, and yet their presence crushed the hearts of every being who looked at them. The commander's pride cracked. Sweat ran down his skin. All ships retreat, he shouted, but the warships did not move. They only watched, silent and unyielding. As the scout fleet turned, another transmission echoed. Earth does not seek war, but Earth will not bow. The words carried across space like thunder. Reaching every ship, striking every soul, the fleet fled. Their engines burning bright, but even as they escaped, the shadows of human warships remained behind, silent guardians of their world. When the scouts returned to the council, their faces pale, their voices weak, they tried to explain. But how could they describe ships so vast? So silent, so merciless, the council chamber fell into chaos. Some shouted for peace, others demanded immediate war. But no one could ignore the fear in the eyes of those who had seen the fleet. The Supreme Counselor sat in silence, his hands trembling. They warned us once, he whispered. And we ignored it. If we push further, there may not be a second warning, and yet pride and arrogance filled the hall. Generals spoke of revenge, rulers spoke of honor. No one wanted to admit fear. No one wanted to believe the humans could be stronger than them. In the dark, the young diplomat from before whispered, maybe the silence is not weakness, maybe it is strength. His words went unheard, drowned in the shouts of war. But far above Earth, the warfleet waited, unmoving, their black hulls gleaming in the void, their silence louder than any weapon. The galaxy had seen shadows on the edge, and those shadows belonged to humanity. The warning ignored the scout fleet's testimony echoed across the council chamber. Delegates trembled as the tale unfolded. Giant human warships the size of moons, silent but alive, shadows that blotted out the stars. Many sat in silence, too shaken to speak. But pride is a poison, and it ran deep through the empire. One general slammed his fist on the table, his armor rattling. Lies, illusions, tricks of light. Humans cannot build such fleets. They are primitive. They have no empire, no colonies, no ancient wealth. We cannot fear shadows. Another voice rose from the far end of the chamber, a senator with silver eyes. And yet 3 scout squadrons vanished. And now this one returns broken. Do you still call it illusion? His words were sharp, but the general waved them aside. Cowards see ghosts in the dark, the general sneered. We are the empire, our fleets number in the millions. We will march into human space. We will crush their silence with fire. The chamber erupted. Some shouted for caution. Others demanded war. Pride clashed with fear, arrogance with truth. The Supreme Counselor tried to calm them, but his voice drowned beneath the storm of arguments. Outside the chamber, whispers spread across markets, taverns and stations. Smugglers swore they had seen human shadows trailing their ships. Merchants whispered that trade convoys near Earth had simply vanished. Priests declared omens of doom, their temples filled with frightened pilgrims. But in the heart of the empire, the drums of war began to beat. Fleets were called from distant sectors. Massive armadas gathered near the border of human space. Banners of countless worlds flew side by side, their commanders boasting loudly, though their eyes betrayed unease. One young captain spoke quietly to his crew. The humans warned us once. Will they warn us again? His crew exchanged nervous glances. No one answered in the council. Final orders were given. The Empire would strike. Their armadas would march into the human system and demand surrender. Any resistance would be crushed with overwhelming force. As fleets assembled, human silence continued. No transmissions, no threats, no movement. Only the quiet glow of Earth spinning gently in the void. To the Empire, it felt like mockery. To the wise, it felt like preparation. Spies returned with reports that chilled even the bravest. They claimed humanity had united under one banner. No factions, no division, a single command. Something no other race in the galaxy had ever achieved. How? One emperor gasped when he read the report. How does a young race do what our kind could not in millennia? His advisors shook their heads. Unable to answer, still the War Council pressed forward. They could not admit weakness. Not before so many watching worlds. Their pride was chained to their power. And their power demanded proof if we retreat. The galaxy will laugh at us, said one general, his eyes burning. If we surrender, we are no longer the Empire, and so war was declared. Thousands of ships ignited their engines. Their armadas stretched across the stars like rivers of fire. Civilians cheered in forced voices, though their hearts were heavy. They told themselves humans could not possibly stand against such power. But in hidden corners, whispers grew. Smugglers spoke of a saying among human soldiers, a phrase caught from old recordings. We don't start wars. We finish them. On a barren moon near the border, an alien child asked his teacher, Will the humans destroy us? The teacher forced a smile. No, child, they are too small, too weak. But his eyes betrayed a fear he could not hide back in the council chamber. The Supreme Councilor sat alone after the vote for war passed. His hands shook as he pressed them against the cold stone of the table, his whisper barely audible. They warned us once and we ignored it. May the stars forgive us, as the Empire's fleet surged toward human space. Far above Earth, the shadows stirred again, colossal ships drifting silently, watching, waiting, their black hulls catching no light, their engines sleeping, their weapons hidden. The galaxy did not yet know, but humanity's silence was not weakness, it was patience, and patience, when broken, becomes wrath. The first strike, the Empire's armada poured across the void, a sea of warships stretching farther than the eye could see. Their engines burned like suns, their weapons charged, their banners bright against the dark, from the bridge of the flagship. The Grand Admiral raised his chin with pride. Today we end the silence of Earth, his voice boomed, echoed by cheers from the thousands who listened. But beneath the pride, fear whispered in quiet corners. Captains remembered the vanished squadrons. The giant shadows, the warnings ignored still. They pressed forward. As they reached the boundary of human space, the armada spread wide, surrounding the solar system like a net. Their scanners probed every planet, every moon, every asteroid, but the silence remained. No response, no fleet rising to meet them, only the steady glow of Earth spinning in its cradle of blue and green. The Admiral smirked. See, they hide, they cower. He raised his hand. Advance, and then the stars blinked. At first the captains thought it was a trick of their screens, stars vanishing then returning, but the truth soon dawned. Those were not stars, they were ships. Colossal silhouettes slid from the darkness. Black hulls vast as cities, wings stretching like shadows of mountains. Engines silent, weapons hidden. They had been there all along, waiting, watching, unseen until they chose to reveal themselves. A chill swept through the alien fleet. Voices trembled. They are everywhere, one officer whispered. How many? How many? The Grand Admiral's pride cracked. Sweat ran down his brow. Still he shouted, Fire, all ships, fire. The Empire's armada unleashed its fury. Beams of energy, missiles, cannons. The void lit up with burning light, but the human fleet did not move. Their black hulls absorbed the fury in silence. Then with one signal, humanity struck back. From the warships came lances of light sharper than anything the galaxy had seen. Beams that tore through entire cruisers in a single heartbeat. Missiles that curved through space as if they had minds of their own. One strike, one kill. Alien ships exploded by the hundreds. Entire wings shattered in seconds. Panic swept the armada. Screams filled the comms. They're cutting us apart. No shield holds. No armor stands, the Admiral roared. Hold formation. Fight back. But even his voice wavered as his flagship shook beneath a single shot that cracked its hull like glass. The human fleet moved not with chaos but with precision. Every ship in sync, every strike measured. It was not war, it was execution. A captain on the alien side wept, This is not possible. No race builds such power in silence. No race moves with one mind, but humanity did, and the galaxy watched in horror. News of the battle spread faster than light. Outposts, colonies, stations, all received fragments of the comms. Screams, desperate calls, and then silence. The Empire's greatest armada, the pride of 1,000 worlds, was being erased before the eyes of the galaxy. Within minutes, half the fleet was gone. Within hours, the survivors fled, scattering like broken glass across the void, and still, the human warships remained in silence. No celebration, no words of victory, only shadows floating in the dark, weapons ready, engines quiet from the ruins of his ship. The Grand Admiral gasped his last breath. His final words carried across broken comms. We thought they were weak, we were blind, may the stars save us all above Earth. The fleet regrouped, their formation unbroken, their silence unbroken, their presence a single message to the galaxy. Earth does not bow. Earth does not break, Earth does not forget. And far away, in the council chamber, the Supreme Counselor sank into his seat, his face pale, his eyes hollow. We ignored the warning, he whispered, and now the stars themselves will remember our arrogance. The galaxy, once filled with noise, fell silent, for silence now belonged to humanity. Silence across the stars. The Empire's proud armada was no more. Where once millions of ships stretched across the stars, now only wreckage floated, silent, broken, drifting like dust. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Merchants in distant markets whispered in fear. The Empire sent its greatest fleet, and they were destroyed in hours. Smugglers told tales of black warships larger than cities. Children in colonies cried when their parents told them the truth. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was no longer prey in temples of ancient worlds. Priests fell silent, their chants fading, for they could not explain what had happened. Their prophecies had never spoken of Earth. Yet here was a power that shattered the future itself. The council chamber was drowned in fear. Leaders shouted at each other. Some demanded peace at once, others demanded revenge, but none could hide the terror in their eyes. The furred delegate who once warned them rose again, his voice trembling but clear. You laughed when I spoke. You ignored the scouts. You mocked the warnings. Now you have seen what humanity is, and still you shout for war. Do you not understand? War is already lost. The chamber grew quiet. His words carried more weight than any weapon, for deep down all knew he spoke truth. Still, arrogance refused to die, one emperor hissed. They cannot fight forever. Their numbers cannot match ours. If we throw enough fleets, we can bury them. But even as he spoke, a new message reached the chamber. A single recording taken from the ruins of the Empire's fleet. It showed black human warships gliding silently through fire and wreckage, their guns cooling, their engines dark, their silence louder than screams. Every delegate who saw the image felt their hearts sink. On frontier worlds, fear became law. Colonies locked their gates, stations dimmed their lights. Traders refused to enter human space, not because humans attacked them, but because silence itself now carried terror. For humanity did not chase, humanity did not boast. Humanity did not demand, they simply waited, their warships drifting like watchful giants. A captain who survived the slaughter gave testimony, his eyes hollow. They could have destroyed us all, they did not. They only erased our weapons, our fleets, they let us crawl away like broken insects, his voice cracked. That mercy was more terrifying than death. Throughout the Empire, common people began to question. If humanity has such power, why do they not conquer? Why do they not strike the weak? Why do they only defend? The question spread faster than any fleet, shaking the Empire from inside. Meanwhile, humanity remained unseen, their diplomats silent, their leaders hidden. No speeches, no parades, only the silent presence of their fleet, hanging above Earth like guardians of the stars. Some believed humans were merciful. Others believed they were waiting, preparing for something greater. On one distant moon, a soldier knelt before a shrine and whispered, "Gods of the stars, forgive us, we thought Earth was small." But Earth is the storm, the Supreme Counselor, older than centuries, gathered the leaders once more, his voice heavy. Look around you. Do you not feel it? The galaxy itself has grown quiet. Trade has slowed, armies tremble, entire worlds whisper one word. Humans. He paused, his voice breaking. Silence spreads across the stars, and it is their silence, not ours that night, across countless worlds. The skies seemed darker, the stars less bright, not because they had changed, but because every being who looked at them feared the shadows that might be hiding there. Shadows shaped like warships, shadows that belonged to humanity. The Empire kneels, the Empire was broken, not in body but in spirit. Their fleet still existed, their armies still marched, their worlds still glowed with lights, but inside every heart lived a new shadow, the shadow of Earth's silent fleet. Councils that once roared with arrogance now whispered in fear. Generals who once boasted of glory now avoided speaking of war. In markets, on stations, in temples, one question spread like disease. When will the humans move on the throne world of the Empire? The High Emperor gathered his war council. Banners hung heavy in the chamber. Golden armor gleamed, but all eyes were hollow. They wait, the Emperor said, his voice cold. They do not attack, they do not demand. Yet their silence is heavier than war itself if we do nothing. The galaxy will believe we bow, an admiral rose, his voice trembling. Then perhaps we must bow. For if we resist again, there will be no empire left to defend. The chamber shook with gasps. Never in history had an admiral spoken such words, but none could argue. The scars of the last battle still burned in their minds. Messengers arrived from across the galaxy, from smaller races once loyal to the Empire, their voices filled with desperation. We will not fight the humans. We will not die for your pride if you command us to war. We will break away one by one, allies abandon them. Predator species that once mocked humanity now begged for peace. Merchant guilds swore they would not cross human borders. Even pirates whispered prayers before approaching the edges of Earth's space. And still the human fleet remained silent, not moving, not answering, simply watching from above their world. The Supreme Counselor stood once more before the assembly, his frail hands trembling. Look at what has become of us. Once the galaxy bent to our will, now the galaxy bends to their silence. If we fight again, we are finished. If we bow now, perhaps they will spare us. An emperor slammed his fist. We are the Empire, we do not kneel. But his words carried no strength, no fire, only the sound of fear dressed in pride. Far above, in the ruins of the destroyed armada, human warships drifted quietly, not chasing, not conquering. Their stillness a reminder that they did not need to prove anything. Their power had already been written into the stars. Then the moment came. Envoys were sent to Earth. Trembling, fearful, desperate, they approached the silent warships. Every step of their journey felt like walking into the jaws of a beast. They expected threats, demands, ultimatums, but the humans gave none. Only a single message was broadcast across every channel of the galaxy. 6 words carried in a voice calm and unbroken. Earth does not bow to empires, no more, no less. Yet the weight of those words crushed thrones, broke crowns, and silenced armies. The Empire could not fight. The Empire could not argue. Their pride lay shattered, and so, for the first time in their history, they knelt. Worlds that once mocked humanity now swore allegiance. Generals who once boasted now lowered their banners. Emperors who once ruled now bent their heads. But the humans did not smile, they did not celebrate. Their warships remained still. Their silence remained unbroken. And that silence was worse than any roar of victory. In the dark, whispers grew. If they have such power and yet they remain silent, then what are they waiting for? What future are they preparing? The Supreme Counselor, his heart heavy with regret, stood alone before the stars. We forced them to show their hand. And now the galaxy kneels, but I fear this is not the end. I fear this is only the beginning. Above Earth, the fleet of shadows waited. Guardians or conquerors, no one could say. But all knew one truth. Humanity had claimed the silence of the galaxy, and the galaxy itself had bowed. The unknown future, the galaxy was no longer the same. Where once empires roared with pride, where once fleets thundered across the stars, now silence reigned. Earth's war fleet hovered above their world, colossal and unyielding, their black hulls gleaming like shadows carved into the void. They did not move, they did not speak. They simply waited, and the galaxy trembled. On distant colonies, children whispered to each other. The humans are watching us. Priests spoke to their crowds, claiming Earth had been chosen by the stars. Some said they were protectors. Others said they were executioners in the ruins of the Empire's court. The High Emperor sat on a broken throne, his crown heavy, his eyes empty. We knelt. But they did not even look at us, he whispered. They did not conquer, they did not demand, they only watched, and somehow that is worse. Across stations and markets, traders avoided human space, not because humans attacked them, but because no one wished to be near the silent shadows. Warlords abandoned their raids near Earth's borders. Predators turned prey. Smugglers swore they saw human ships appear and vanish without a trace. Whispers of a secret truth spread. Humanity had not just built a fleet. They had built something greater, a unity no alien race had ever achieved. A single will moving across thousands of ships. One mind, one purpose, one silence. In the council chamber, leaders argued once more, but now their voices were softer, weaker. We must learn from them, some said. We must copy their unity. Others shook their heads. No, we must watch, we must wait, for whatever they are preparing. And always the same question lingered. If humanity had such power and yet chose not to use it fully, then what were they saving it for? One diplomat from a small race wrote in his diary, "It is not their weapons that terrify me. It is their silence, because silence hides intent, and intent can be darker than any fleet, on Earth itself." Humanity looked up at the sky, their people walking freely, their world calm. Their leaders spoke to none, their secrets kept safe. Only the fleet above showed the galaxy that humanity was no longer just a world. Humanity was a power. And still, no declaration came, no demand for tribute, no orders for surrender. The humans remained silent, letting the galaxy bow on its own, letting fear do the work of conquest. One surviving admiral of the Empire, broken and scarred, told his people, "We were defeated not only by their weapons but by their silence. For silence is a blade sharper than steel. It cuts deeper because you never see it coming." Rumors grew that humanity was preparing for something larger, not defense, not war, but something beyond. Some whispered of expansion into uncharted galaxies. Others spoke of ancient threats only humans knew about, a danger the galaxy could not see. The Supreme Counselor, frail and weary, stood alone before the stars one last time. They were never weak. They were never blind. They were only patient, and now they wait for a future only they can see. May the galaxy endure it. Above Earth, the war fleet drifted, silent titans in the dark, their presence a promise and a threat, protectors or conquerors no one knew. And so the galaxy fell into a new age, an age not of empire, not of freedom, but of silence. A silence owned by humanity. A silence that would shape the future of the stars forever.